Move your shoulders a little bit.
It's no surprise to find Fall River, Massachusetts basketball legend Chris Herron on the basketball court. The surprise is that he's alive at all.
The police report said my skin was gray, my lips were blue, and I was non-responsive to Narcan, which reverses overdoses. So the EMTs on scene were content with pronouncing me dead. In the back of the ambulance, they kept working on me. In the back of the ambulance, I popped up. In the back of the ambulance, when I popped up, the police officer grabbed me by my throat. He shoved me back down and he said, "Homeboy, shut your mouth. You were just dead 30 seconds ago."
Herron with the alley-oop.
In the early 1990s, Chris Herron was a star basketball player at Fall River's Durfee High School.
And that brought the house down. Herron again. 2 more.
You know, from an early age, you can tell he was just a step quicker, a little better shooter, you know, had better court vision than most kids. You know, he could take it to the hole on you and bully you to the basket and then step back and shoot the three.
He was the personification of a high school superstar. He had it all. He had the look, he had the attitude, he had the ability.
Herron, nice rebound.
A McDonald's All-American and one of the top high school players in the country, Chris was recruited by every major Division I college program.
You were 17 years old and you had Rick Pitino at your games and you had Billy Donovan at your games. And, you know, as a teacher, if the principal sat in your classroom every day and evaluated your work, most teachers go home pretty stressed out. Kids get evaluated in the recruiting process like that. I was one of the kids that didn't really like that type of attention, you know, and I channeled it in the wrong way once I stepped off the court.
The wrong way meant drinking and marijuana use. But regardless, Chris accepted a scholarship to play at Boston College, where he was introduced to cocaine, failed 3 drug tests, and was promptly kicked out.
You know, I remember that moment in that room looking at it and thinking to myself, you know, I'll give it one shot. You know, I'll try it once, I won't like it, I'll never do it again. And it took 14 years to walk away from that 1 line of cocaine.
Despite his history, Chris was offered a second chance by Fresno State's Jerry Tarkanian. He responded, and despite another failed drug test and a stint in rehab, Chris was able to finish his college career strong.
Here's Chris Herron back in the Commonwealth tonight. First shot, native is a 3.
Now married with a new baby, Chris was drafted 33rd overall by the Denver Nuggets and had the opportunity of a lifetime. But the old demons were still there, waiting.
I was still untreated with the Denver Nuggets. I was in remission in a sense. I didn't do anything to stay away from the substances. I just put them aside for a while, you know, and I was around good guys who were looking out for my best interest. I should have been able to say, here I am, living my dream, and I'm going to do everything possible to stay with it.
Before the start of his second season, Chris was traded to his hometown Boston Celtics. But what should have been the realization of a lifelong dream was only the dawning of a new nightmare, a growing addiction to OxyContin. Chris lasted only 1 season with the Celtics. His NBA career over, he played overseas for a number of teams where the long downward spiral accelerated.
At 24 years old, I didn't know what heroin looked like. At 24 years old, that man said, if you're so sick, roll up your sleeve. At 24 years old, I rolled up my sleeve, I closed my eyes, I clenched my fist, I looked away, and I let the man shoot me up. At 24 years old, I became an intravenous drug addict.
Chris managed to play several seasons before drug use ended his basketball career and left him back home, broke and hopelessly addicted. His final chance? A drug rehab program paid for by former teammate Chris Mullin.
Was there for 30 days. My wife went into labor. I got the phone call. Against the advice of the facility, I went home. And I was using within 24 hours. And when I came back to the hospital the next day, my wife knew. She told me never to come back. And When I went back, the counselor at the facility told me that I should play dead. You know, tell my wife to tell the kids that I died in a car accident. Let the kids live, and you just go on about your business. I hit my knees, I started praying, and I started putting the work in necessary to stay sober one day at a time. At 32 years old, I became coachable. I started listening to old timers who told me how to do it, told me which way to go, and I did. And one day at a time, things started changing.
After reconnecting with his family, Chris went back to his other love, basketball.
Ooh, good take. Well, initially, hoop dreams came into play. Jenny Swider, who lives next to me, we met and we sat down and we came up with the idea that a good way for me to make money is to teach basketball. Dynamite. Way to get that. And from there, one workout at a time, 1 hour at a time, the kids started building.
In 2011, Chris released his memoir, Basketball Junkie, with Providence Journal columnist Bill Reynolds. The response was overwhelming.
We were inundated with emails and phone calls and letters from people really seeking help for themselves or their loved one. And so Chris turned to me one day and said, Jenny, we have got to start a nonprofit to help these people. So we did. We started the Heron Project.
How you guys doing? Good. And from that, I started speaking, you know, going out and telling my story to kids. And I realized the need. So I figured the Heron Project, I could go around and raise some money and help people, assist them in the treatment process.
Chris has now spoken to over 500,000 school kids, as well as programs like Alabama football and the National Football League rookies.
You know, he just relates to them on their level. You know, he's not talking down to them. They sense that genuineness of his presentation, and you know, it's truly amazing.
The Heron Project works with community groups and educational facilities to help further the message that drugs and alcohol can have a traumatic effect on anyone, including a young person experimenting for the first time.
I have been doing this sort of work for 12 years, and I have never seen anything like what happens when Chris speaks to individuals. It happens with adults. Adults, when they hear his message, he seems to really be able to reach them, but particularly with children. It's absolutely amazing the things that kids will disclose to us after they have heard Chris speak.
You said in your speech that your goal is to change the life of one person. Well, I know that your speech changed a lot more than just one person.
Me and that football player used to come into these talks, look at our phone, drop our cell phone, laugh, giggle, talk.
When Chris Heron speaks, something unusual happens. There's no texting or emailing, no phone checking, no social media posting. Kids are listening.
I will leave you with this. Don't ever change who you are for nobody. You're perfect just the way you are. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Take care. God bless.
The reception to the Heron Project, I think it's nothing less than a phenomenon. It's truly unbelievable, the support behind it, the national reach of it, and just the way the kids get involved.
Hey, way to say thank you. You understand me? How you doing? You all right? Good.
I think you're a very strong person.
Move, I get out of the way.
Thank you.
Along with Chris's speaking engagements, the Heron Project is also reaching out with a program called the Project Purple Initiative.
I spoke at a high school in Rhode Island where these kids were sitting in the front row and they had on these purple shirts. A young girl stood up and she said, I want to thank you for coming. I'm a sober student. And kids started laughing. And that caught my attention, and I looked at them and I said, I wish I never had to change myself. I wish I never had to put a substance in my body to feel like somebody different.
The Project Purple Initiative encourages kids to sign a pledge to stay sober and wear purple to show their commitment.
Chris's message really resonated with people across the country, specifically teenagers. And from that, we started to launch Project Purple nationwide. We have Project Purple programs across the country, from Texas to North Carolina to Massachusetts.
When will we learn to care and embrace? When can a lot of us socialize in one place with no violence, no drugs or alcohol, for that shows no black love at all?
You know, I had no idea that it would take off like this. You know, credit to the Heron Project organization and Chris Heron, because I didn't realize, and it's probably, we should realize, that everyone's affected in some capacity. Everyone knows somebody that has struggled with alcohol or drug addiction.
Of course, the true measure of the Project Purple initiative's success is not what adults think. It's in how kids respond.
So young brothers, now can we stop killing each other? Increase the peace.
I want to be a role model to others. I want to send a message to all teenagers and the youth, not only in my community but nationwide, that you can be sober and you can still have fun. You don't need to be drinking or taking drugs.
I just think staying purple is basically staying within yourself to want to be a good person and want to make a difference in your community.
Project Purple message has impacted my life because there's people in my family who struggle with substance abuse, and when Chris Heron came to speak, it was like, wow, it's not only in my family, there was other families who have been struggling with substance abuse as well.
Chris makes it okay to talk about the issue, and has made it kind of cool to talk about it. And I think that's unique, and because of his personal touching story, he has a great effect on the kids because they can relate to them.
My favorite color is purple.
My favorite color is purple.
We are THP Project Purple.
My goal someday is to have every school involved. Most schools are involved in paint for cancer, for breast cancer. I would like for most schools to be involved in Project Purple that supports and promotes recovery and wellness and good choices.
Coming up, we'll find out more about some of the Heron Project's other programs and take a look at what the future might hold.
I saw them coming. As soon as they got close enough, I threw my body right out in front of them. I wanted that car to hit me in my chest, man. Drag me down the highway and put me out of my misery. At 27 years old, I wanted to die.
The nationwide opiate epidemic means that Chris Heron's compelling story has found attentive audiences all over the country, and that the Heron Project has been growing.
You know, the way we've been received by people is just truly amazing. From where we came from, when we started in 2011, I mean, we've grown tremendously. We've been blessed with, the support of thousands of individuals. We're very grassroots.
The project's newest initiative is one that makes a lot of sense here in New England. It's called the Heron Project Runs.
Kevin Michael-Azik was into CrossFit, and we did the Spartan race at Fenway. And through that race, and the money that we saw we were able to generate, we then turned it into road races.
And of course, the biggest race in these parts is the Boston Marathon. Thanks to John Hancock, the Heron Project received 3 2014 bibs to race and raise money with. So naturally, Chris had to run it.
It was emotional. It was inspirational for me to be out there. 6 years earlier, I couldn't run a block, and here I am 6 years later running 26 miles for a cause that a lot of people around me believed in.
As word of Chris's marathon run spread, the phone started ringing at the Heron Project. People wanted to help raise money and awareness by running. Lots and lots of people.
My job as director of THP Runs obviously didn't exist because THP Runs didn't exist until the fall of 2014. And since then, 3 runners in April of 2014 has grown into more than 110 runners. So it's grown organically, dramatically, beautifully.
One example of that growth is the Boston Athletic Association's annual 5K run in Boston's Back Bay, an event that now features a full team of runners from the Heron Project.
I signed up for the 5K because I want to give back to the Heron Project. They helped out a very close family member. I have family members in recovery, and I know that there's hope in recovery, and I think everybody deserves a chance.
I chose to run for the Heron Project because I met Chris Heron a few years ago, and he was crucial in helping my son get treatment when I could not get him treatment with anyone else. And without him, I'm not quite sure that I would still have my family intact.
I fell in love with the Heron Project. I fell in love with the people, and lives are changing, literally. They're changing, and I know mine's changed, and I see how it changes others by sharing your story. And being here, it's amazing, it's overwhelming, it's empowering, and it's me.
I believe in the mission of the Heron Project and wanted to support the cause. I'm a person in long-term recovery myself, and decided this was a great opportunity for me and my teenage children to participate and support the cause.
Much like running a marathon, the path to recovery is often long and difficult. Maybe that's why running and the Heron Project seem to work so well together.
I like to say it's a win-win-win because it's a win for the Heron Project and for the work that the Heron Project does. It provides the awareness, the platform, and the funding we need. And it's a win for the runner because they're getting healthier, they're doing something, they're accomplishing goals, they're getting friendships and lifelong meaningful friendships that they never had before. The third win is that it's a win for the people that we help. It's a win for the individuals, the families, even the communities.
Nice pass.
The Heron Project is about much more than Chris's speeches. The Project Purple Initiative, or THP, runs.
Ball's there. You have to know where your guy is, right? And if he tries to cut in front of you, you know what you do? Boom. All right?
They also provide treatment navigation, education, youth mentoring, and have a grant program to make sure Chris's message is available to all.
The Impact Speaker Series is a grant-based program that was developed to allow Chris to share his message with community groups, schools, and groups in recovery across New England.
The Impact Speaker Series allows us to, I think, ultimately as a nonprofit, do what all nonprofits strive to do, which is utilize the best of the people out there, because you're only as good as the people who are willing to help you. And with Mr. Heron and his great team at the Heron Project and Project Purple, it's pretty clear that they don't want to just help, they want to lead you.
I've been in the business long enough to know that it takes a long time for kids to kind of take down their walls and really let you in. I think with Chris, with this project, with the award that we were granted, it was like something I've never seen before in terms of turnaround time. He came, he talked, within an hour they knew he was genuine, they knew he was passionate about his message, they knew he was real, and they felt empowered to kind of let those walls down and let us in on what was really bothering them.
All the speeches, the grants, and education come down to one thing: helping people. Whether it's teaching kids about the danger of drugs, mentoring a high school athlete, or helping an addict find their way to recovery, the Heron Project is making a difference.
Well, family will reach out to us looking for help with navigating treatment, which can be very difficult for families. It's a very confusing system. And that what we do is we have developed relationships with multiple treatment centers across the country, and we will try to help the family find the treatment center that best suits their needs. I can say that as of yet, we have never turned anybody away or never not been able to help somebody.
Every day we get emails or letters or phone calls from someone who Chris's message has touched, or the Heron Project has provided treatment navigation, or an educational program, or a statistic that's made a difference and made a teenager think twice about using drugs and alcohol. So it's safe to say the Heron Project is making a big difference across the United States.
My hopes for the organization moving forward is that we keep just being us. you know, and that's a big part of Chris's message is just be you, you know, be good enough being yourself. And, you know, for us, we started with a clear-cut mission. We've stuck to our guns, and we've been successful doing that. For us, at the end of the day, we just want to be able to help, you know, one person, one family at a time, you know, and it's a beautiful thing.
Before he lost everything to drugs and alcohol, Chris Herron was a high school basketball phenom, a college hoop star, and a member of the Boston Celtics. You probably assume he thinks about what might have been, that he is filled with regret over the path his life has taken. You would be wrong.
You know, people say, like, you know, you lost everything you could have been, should have been, Boston Celtic for life. The regrets is that my kids had to go through this process with me. That's the regret. But it was worth it, you know, because it's given me this, you know, this opportunity. I wouldn't change it. It's perfect just the way it is.